What's up, guys? It's your boy Dark Sage, back with another video, and today we finna be doing What If Naruto Was Neglected, part 1 redo. But before we get into the video, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, because it'll help you and get out, but we won't talk about that. So, yeah, let's get into the video. As I see my parents training my younger sister, they look happy. I'm sitting in a cage, nails all over it, while people are throwing tomatoes at me, calling me a demon. I can see them being happy over on the training field. I wonder, do people know how that feels? Do people know how it feels to see the person that is truly responsible for everything be treated like some goddess? I don't think they do. Guess that's the reason bastards like them decide to torture a kid like me. Well, it's fine. It's all fine. One day, I swear it, I'm gonna get revenge. All of this pain. For what? What the hell could I have possibly done to deserve any of this? I didn't do a damn thing. Yet, here I am. As I would look up into the sky, the clear blue sky, and I would wish I could have at least one moment of peace until I was hit over the head with the 2x4, knocking me out completely. While I was knocked out, the villagers beat me. They took me out of the damn cage, and they beat me. My parents, they were so busy training the child of prophecy that they didn't notice. They didn't notice the screams of their child, their precious baby boy. They didn't notice all of the blood that was spilling from my body. They didn't know about the pain I was going through. But inside of my mind, I was in a wide open space. I was sitting in a chair. There were 5 people around me, and there were locks on 4 of the 5 people. But there was only one that was unlocked. And so when I looked at it, it stood up and it came over to me. It looked at me in my eyes and said, "Do you know pain?" As I'd look at the figure and I'd say, yeah, I do. I know pain more than anybody else in this world. As the figure would smile and laugh. Let me show you. Let me show you what pain truly is. As the figure would tap my head, I would begin to sink into a void of darkness. I could see the past of so many people that had it way worse than me. People that were tortured for completely no reason. People that were being drowned, starved, shot, electrocuted, killed for completely no reason. This is what the figure wanted to show me. This is what unlocked my Kekkei, so to speak. Matter. I can control matter. That is my first words when I came out of the dark void. My first words were matter. And the man would smile. And he'd say, huh, so you could create things. It's pretty cool, I guess. Wait, how old are you? 6 years old. Huh. You're 6 years old. You're being beaten like this? Well, I could only assume that it's gonna get worse as you age, but who am I to talk? Good luck, kid. I'll try to help you as best as I can, but it's up to you to train. You already have knowledge on all matter. You can control it and use it. It'll bend to your will. All you have to do is have the willingness to wield it. But if you don't, you'll die. But that's all I can tell you, kid. See you later. As I'm thrusted out of the mindscape, my spirit flying out of the sky. As I say, I guess my wish was kind of granted. I got a little bit of peace as my spirit is almost to my body. I see my parents walking into a ramen shop, my favorite ramen shop. They glance past me as I know they can see my broken, beaten body on the ground. They simply just look past me. They didn't care one bit. As my spirit came back into my body, a dark aura, it came off of me. It told everybody within a mile radius that if you came into contact with me, I was more than likely going to kill you. As I would get up, my bones broken, I'd limp back to the garbage apartment that I live in. As the Nine Tails, well, I didn't know that, but the Nine Tails would be trying to heal me as best as it could. It'd be thinking to itself, how could they do this to a little kid? Those bastards. Once I get out of here, I'll help the kid. I promise. As he would continue to try to heal me in all of my wounds. As I would go to my apartment and I would look at a picture of when times were better, of when times my parents actually loved me. This kind of made me blush a little bit, but then I think about now and how everything has changed, how they had a choice. They could have protected me, but they chose to save their own asses, along with my sisters. As we have a flashback. Minato, Kushina. The people want to know what happened to the Nine Tails. They could have said that they killed it. They could have said that it was over. But I mean, I guess that wouldn't work. Because people would have still known about the chakra. They would have been able to sense it. But even if and so, he said this. The monster was completely sealed inside of our son. Now he's the reincarnate of the monster. Do with him as y'all see fit. You will have no punishment. When I heard this, when I first heard this, my mind, it went dark. All of the light fading. Would now go to another perspective inside of me. It would be Ashura. How could his father do this to him? This kid, he doesn't deserve what he's about to get. This Ashura would already know that I was about to be tortured. As Ashura would say, I guess Kagi was right. My father was horribly wrong. These people, they're a disease in which needs to be cleansed. This Ashura's hair, it would turn white and his eyes would go red. He'd smile and say, I'll be the one to cleanse it along with Naruto and the Nine Tails. As Ashura would begin to form a link of sorts with the Nine Tails, as he would tell the Nine Tails to build up chakra outside of, well, the gate that he's in, or the cage that he's in. Build up chakra outside of the cage that you're in. As the Nine Tails would say, who are you? As Ashura would say, it is me, Ashura Ototsutsuki, the son of Hagoromo. As Kurama would hear this, as he'd say, brother. As Ashura would say, yes, I am your brother. Now please do as I say. Form chakra outside of your cage, and I will be there soon. As Kurama would start to form the chakra, little by little, seeping it outside of the gate, seeing that, well, it had a crack in it from all of the time that, well, it had been worn out and rusted from the times that Kurama had tried to escape. As Kurama would be thinking to himself, these bastards are in for it now. Once brother gets here, and the combined forces of me and him will train Naruto to become the ultimate ninja, or the ultimate being. He'll be stronger than any other. I promise that. As we now go back to Naruto, who's just in his apartment, laying down, as he'd say, guess I gotta go to the academy tomorrow. Huh. Guess I should start training. Do kinda need to build up some muscle if I want to protect myself. As Naruto would begin doing push-ups, but he would feel that it was way easier for him. As Naruto would start to do one-handed push-ups, and these would still be easy. As Naruto would get up on to 2 fingers on each hand, and he'd do push-ups. And these would pose a little bit of a challenge, but it was still way too easy for a 6-year-old to be doing. Until Naruto would get up on 1 finger on each hand. As he'd be doing 1 finger push-ups, as these would require a lot of focus. As Naruto would easily do 10,000. But since this was so easy to him, he'd keep going. And because of, well, the matter, I'll say, well, because of Naruto unlocking his matter ability, he also unlocks sub abilities, such as unlimited stamina, superhuman strength, superhuman speed, or speed of light. Yeah, I'll give him speed of light. And fucking immense intelligence. As Naruto would be smarter, but it would have to progress. It would be easy for him to learn, but if he wanted to be, well, 100 times smarter, he'd have to read at least 10 books about, well, whatever he wanted to get smarter on. But for his training and, well, physical wise, Naruto just needed to work out. And seeing this, Naruto would think to himself that it would be easy now that that man or that figure has given him this power. He's progressing at an abnormal rate. Naruto's progression, it's different. While he's doing his push-ups, you can start to see muscle building. Slowly but surely it's building. As he would do another round of 10,000 push-ups. As he'd keep doing this all day until his arms would eventually give out and he'd fall to the ground. As Naruto would stand up, as he'd walk over to the wall and he'd barely touch it, as it formed just a tiny crack. As Naruto would say, what would happen if as he would cock his hand back and punch the wall, as the wall would disintegrate. As Naruto would say, damn, I'm that strong. Yeah, Naruto's, he's finna be overpowered as fuck. But, yeah. Naruto would, Naruto would continue doing push-ups for the rest of that day. Even though his arms were weary and could barely hold them, he would continue doing push-ups. Until the end of the day, Naruto would get into his bed and he'd go to sleep. Fast forward the next day, Naruto would wake up. He'd walk outside and villagers would already be waiting outside of his house, as they could sense something wrong with Naruto. Most of the villagers, they didn't want to come near him because they sensed killing intent. But Naruto, he was completely gone. This wasn't the same fragile, sad boy that they all knew. This was something different. Something completely different, in fact. Demons may have feared this boy. The power that this, or I, possess is unlimited. That would be the name of this power. I have pretty much unlimited potential, meaning that I can break my limits over and over again. And with these limits come a leveling system, and as you can see, I'm still on level 1, but there are 5 levels, and I'm about to, I'd say at least 45% through the level 1 section. As for each, once I get to 50 and 100, I'll gain a weapon. And this weapon will correspond to my power. Right now I can use the power of matter, but I haven't really tested that out yet. But I'll be sure to use it soon, as I would completely erase my entire body and form it back at the academy, escaping the villagers easily. As once I walked in, most people would be shooting glares at me, except for my usual friends. Shikamaru, Choji, Ino, Shino, and Hinata and Kiba. Yep. Yeah. So, they would all actually be happy to see Naruto, seeing that Naruto is actually a pretty cool kid if you got to know him. But Naruto, he wouldn't be cold and fucked up towards his friends. Naruto actually cared for them. Is when, Naruto's sister, what am I going to name her? Mito. The classic name for Naruto's sister. Mito. Yep, that's what I'm gonna name her. Alright, so Naruto would basically be talking to his friends until his sister would walk over. And she'd say hi to all of them, except for Naruto. As they would all avert their attention towards Naruto onto his sister, and to be frankly honest, they all liked Mito more than Naruto, but none of them really wanted to hurt Naruto's feelings. Well, except for Shikamaru. Shikamaru liked Naruto way more than Mito, because he knows, he's seen some of what Naruto has been through. And so Naruto would begin talking to Shikamaru and, Choji. Choji, he really wouldn't care. He just liked enjoying his snacks, but he'd like both of them equally. And so Naruto would be talking to Shikamaru and Choji, and I guess Shino. Shikamaru, Choji, and Shino. Yep. Yeah. He'd be talking to Shikamaru and Choji and Shino. And Mito kinda wouldn't like this. So she tried to steal the attention away from Naruto by performing a jutsu that her dad taught her. I'll say that, fuck it. He taught her the clone jutsu that they're supposed to graduate with. And she'd do this, and everybody would be shocked. And they'd see this and say, wow, Mito. As I would just be looking, and I'd say, well, I'd mutter under my breath, it's not like that's cool or anything. As Mito would hear this, as Sasuke and Sakura would step up, or Sakura would step up and say, shut up, Naruto. She's better than you in every way. As Mito would say, calm down, Sakura. It's not like the dead lass is good at anything. As I'd look down, and I'd say, oh yeah? I bet I'm better than you. And she'd say, what the hell did you just say? As I could hear a voice say, sorry, Naruto, but you're gonna have to be weak. Only for a short period of time. You can show your true power the day you graduate. As Mito would come over to punch Naruto, but before, Naruto could dodge, or I could dodge, I'd be hit square in my nose. My nose would be broken, and blood would start gushing out as everybody would, not everybody except for Shino, Choji, and Shikamaru would say, oh, wow, you really knocked Naruto on his ass. As Sasuke, he'd be an arrogant prick. Yeah, Sasuke would be an arrogant prick. And he'd basically be best friends with Mito. As everybody would, go to cheer on Mito except for Shikamaru, Choji, and Shino, who would go over to Naruto, and Shino would heal Naruto with his bugs, and Naruto would thank him for that. As Naruto would get up and see this, as his anger, it'd grow, making Ashura stronger, saying that he'd be feeding off of Naruto's anger. Ashura would smile and say, soon, Naruto, I'll fuse with you, and you'll take my power. I don't know about my hatred, but you'll take my power. As he'd smile and begin laughing, maniacally. But once the day was over, Naruto would have left the academy, as he'd have went to get a bowl of ramen. The villagers would have tried to chase him, but he'd have done the same thing that he did earlier. He'd erase the matter from his body and form it back at, the ramen shop. And once he got there, he'd order the regular miso ramen, as he'd get it, scarf it down, and ask for 5 more bowls. As Naruto would already know that it was on the house, but he'd pay anyway. The man wouldn't accept his payment, he wouldn't accept his payment, as he'd just say, Naruto, it's on the house, my boy. As he'd say, have a good night, Naruto. As Naruto would finish eating and say, you too. As he'd leave, and he'd go back to his house. Naruto would walk in as he'd think to himself, think I should fix up the dump. As he would start to make clones out of his matter manipulation. As they would start to fix up the place. It would look beautiful by the time Naruto was done with it. He also added a lot of decorations, as well he'd create them. As I'll say that Naruto's power works from taking one object and forming it into another. Yeah. So say Naruto takes a rock. He can take that rock and he can form it into basically anything. Anything that is made of that rock's material, he can make it. Yeah, this is going to be overpowered as fuck. So meaning if he somewhat grabs the air. Alright, yeah. Okay. So, Naruto would fix up his house, and once he was done, he'd go to sleep. We're gonna fast forward a year, and it's time for them to graduate. No, fuck that. We're gonna time skip 4 years. Sorry. And it's time for them to graduate. Naruto was what, 13 by now? Yeah. 13, 12, 13. Fuck it. Naruto's 13. So that would be a 5-year time skip. Alright, 5-year time skip. Naruto is now 13. And they're graduating. And Naruto, well, he's been dead last the entire year. He wasn't trying to raise any suspicion, but Shikamaru could tell something was off about Naruto. Whenever Naruto got mad and he would touch something, it would break. Naruto would say it was because he leaned on it too hard or something, but Shikamaru could tell he was lying. But his thoughts would be, or his suspicions would be proven right on the day that they graduated. Naruto would be, well, walking to the school as he'd see Mito, as Mito would have her regular fanboys following her, asking her out on dates. As Naruto would say, spoiled bitch. As one of the fanboys would hear this, as they'd say, what'd you say about Mito? As they'd run over to Naruto and try to hit him. As this would catch the sight of Mito as she'd watch as she'd think her brother is about to be beaten up again. But Naruto wasn't having it today. The fourth Hokage, or his father, came to his apartment and was bitching about him not having enough money to pay rent. As Naruto would be pissed off. As he'd tell his father to get the fuck out of his apartment, and if he ever came back, he'd kill him. As this made Minato laugh, as Minato would go to discipline him. He'd try to hit Naruto with the Rasengan as discipline. Yeah, he'd hit this nigga with the Rasengan as discipline. But Naruto would grab, well, a cup. A glass cup. As it would form into 5 swords. 5 miniature swords. As his hand, he'd wave his hand once, and all the swords would stab right into Minato's wrist. As Minato would scream out, you bastard! As Naruto would say, you should probably go get that checked out before you die. As in these 5 years, Naruto has also been trained a little. No. He's also been trained in the fighting style of Ashura. I'll give him the fighting style. The fighting style of the cursed demon. Why not? This fighting style targets weak points, past injuries, and, well, vital spots in the body. Sort of like the gentle fist technique, but yeah, nah, it's a tranquilize or kill technique, pretty much. But yeah, Naruto would use this fighting style on the boy, as the boy would try to go and hit Naruto, as Mito would be smiling, as she'd say, "Yeah, take the," as she'd be stopped. When the boy would punch Naruto, it wouldn't do a damn thing. Naruto would grab his wrist, flip him, break his wrist, kick him in the face, break his arm, break his elbow, break his shoulder, and this is all happening on his right arm. And then, well, he'd grab his hand and completely disintegrate his bone. As he'd say, "Good luck with that." As Naruto would walk away. As this would leave all of the boys, well, scared out of their minds. As Mito would run over to the boy, as he'd be crying and screaming out, because, I mean, I bet if your bone was just disintegrated, that you would feel pain, because, I mean, if your bone's broken, you would feel pain. So what would happen if your bone wasn't even there? Shit. But, yeah. So, Naruto would walk into the academy, and, well, the boy would be taken to the infirmary. And, well, once they got to the academy and got into class, the class would have started. And for the whole class, or the graduation day, um, Mito would have been glaring at Naruto, or me. In a sense, I honestly wouldn't have cared, but I'd have occasionally glanced back at her, sending bloodlust her way. As Aruka would have came in, and he'd have said that we were graduating today. As I'd have been pretty happy for this, seeing that I wanted to get out of the class of dimwits. As, well, except for Shikamaru, Choji, and Shino. And so, once we got settled, we did the clone test. I aced that using my matter manipulation to create clones. We did a written portion, which Mitsuki tried to cheat me on, as I'd have seen right past this fake-ass illusion, as I'd went to Iruka and said something was wrong with the test. And in this one, Iruka and me would have had the same relationship we did in canon. Yeah. So, I would have aced the test, and then it was time for sparring. Sparring is always fun, as it would have gone as usual, but I'd have been paired up with two people, and the Hokage was watching. He'd have paired me up against Sasuke and Mito. I'd have been confused and said, "Why can't I just fight Mitsuki like everybody else?" As my father, or the fourth, would have said, you know why," as he'd have gestured towards his wrist, as I got the note that he was just being a salty little bitch. As once the proctor said begin, Mito and Sasuke would have come rushing at me. Sasuke would have thrown a punch that I deflected and kicked him away. Mito would have thrown a flurry of punches that I dodged easily. I'd have jumped over her, but in the midst of jumping, I'd have grabbed her shirt and slammed her into the ground. As Sasuke would have said, "You bastard!" as he'd have jumped at me and he kicked me in my jaw. I'd have taken this like a fucking G, grabbed his foot, slammed him, twisted his ankle, and dislocated it. He'd have screamed out in pain before I'd have kicked him in the face and shoved my foot halfway down his throat. After that, Sasuke would have tried to get my foot out of his throat, and he'd have been struggling there, while I'd have been laughing. You're weak as fuck, you know that? And Sasuke wouldn't have liked this. And he'd have activated his Sharingan, one to Moe. He would have rushed at me, or got me off of him first, then rushed at me, along with Mito, as they would have both used synchronized attacks, as this would have pushed me back a bit. I wasn't expecting them to be, well, a tenth of my power, but I guess they were. So they were punching me and kicking me, and I didn't have time to react. They were gradually getting faster and faster, and I thought something was weird because there was no way I was struggling up against people like them. At 10% of my power at that. As I had thought to myself, guess I can go up, right? As I'd have heard a voice say, use it. Your eyes, they're special. As I would have said, alright, as I'd have summoned chakra to my eyes, as my pupil, they would have gone red and black, as I'd have lost my consciousness. But I could still tell what was happening. My body, it would start to, well, one half of it would start to become flames. The other would be completely dark. As I'd say, what is this? As Ashura would say, this is the Dojutsu that I'm allowing you to have. Use it to your will. As he'd send me back into my body. As I'd say, alright, let's do it. As apparently I could control darkness and fire. I also could control other things, but I'll get into that later. I found these out at the mission, our first C rank mission, but that's a topic for another time. As right now I was fighting Mito and Sasuke. I'd have rushed at them, punching Sasuke in his stomach. He'd have flown up, and I'd have kicked him in his face, sending him back to the ground. I'd have rushed at him again, but Mito would have tried to get in my way. She'd have thrown a kick, but I'd have caught it and thrown her. Then I'd have grabbed Sasuke by his throat. He would have still been on the ground, coughing up a bit of blood. I'd have began choking him and punching him in the stomach. At the same time, Mito was trying to get me off him, but she was too weak to do anything. I then threw Sasuke up and kicked him out of the ring, sending him flying into a wall. Everybody would be shocked at this, and the Hokage, seeing that, well, he didn't want to ruin his figure, was just sitting there with a intrigued look on his face, but I could tell that he was pissed. And for Mito, I would grab her by her hair, and I'd slam her into the ground, and then I'd punch her repeatedly in the face, over and over and over again, until, well, she was no longer responsive, and I had blood all over my hand. As I get up, throw her up, and kick her out of the ring as well, she'd go flying into the same hole that Sasuke had created. As they'd have both been laying in a pile of, well, blood, I'd have been laughing, as I'd have turned off my Dojutsu, and I'd have been out of breath. As Ruka would have looked at me and said, well, I guess Naruto wins. As Shikamaru would have said, I was right. He was holding back a lot. It seems as if he was angry. And once I turned back, everybody would have also been shocked at my hair. It would have turned black and my eyes would have turned yellow. I'd have looked like what you see on the screen. But I'd have looked pretty much better than that because, I'm one sexy motherfucker. But, yeah. Naruto or I would get up and I'd get my headband from Iruka. As I'd look at it, fourth Hokage or my father. And I'd say, tell your wife about what I did today, you bastard. As I'd walk off. Time skip. The next day. I've come back to the academy to get my team, and, well, I'd have been placed on Team Kakashi with two of the people that I hate the most. Sasuke and Sakura. Isn't that just a bitch? As I'd be forced to work with these two. As Kakashi would have showed up 2 hours late, told us to meet at the roof, and, well, he'd have asked us our goals, ambitions, dreams, and likes, dislikes, all that good shit. Everything would have gone as in canon except for my answer. My likes, well, my name is Naruto. Just Naruto. My likes, I don't know if I have any. My dislikes, everything about this damn village. And my goal is to become stronger. Stronger than the Sage of Six Paths. And Kakashi hearing this would be shocked that I'd have said something like this. As he'd have said, is that so? Looks like we have an interesting one on our hands. As he'd have said, come back or go to training field 7 tomorrow. We'll be doing a test. Fast forward till the next day. We'd have went to training field 7. We'd have done the bell test. I'd have instantly blitzed Kakashi, leaving him no time to react, taking the bells, as he'd have said, alright, Naruto, since you've gotten the bells, which I don't know how you got, who are you gonna give them to? I would have taken one for myself, and I'd have thrown the other one up in the air, cut it in half, and kicked it towards Sasuke and Sakura. As I'd have said, this thing was about teamwork, but I didn't use it. Guess I still passed since I took the bells, right? As Kakashi would have said, I guess, but since Sasuke and Sakura didn't do anything, they'll have to fight me by themselves. As I'd have just snickered a bit, as Kakashi would have smiled at me, as I'd have felt kinda happy to have him as a sensei. As they'd have fought him, they'd have passed, and we would begin our flurry of D-rank missions. We'd have done so many D-rank missions that, well, I was eventually just sending in clones to replace myself. But Sasuke got tired of it and asked the fourth for a harder mission, which was granted. Oh shit, I don't even know where I left off. Alright, I don't know exactly where I left off. Let's see, so I'll go from, we were sent, after we graduated, I was sent on the bridge builder mission. We went, I killed the fucking demon brothers. I'd have burned them alive, saying that, well, they were in a genjutsu puddle. Then we got to the land of waves. the bridge, Zabuza would have sent his sword at me. I'd have damn near been hit, but I'd have caught the sword. Zabuza would have appeared on top of it. He'd have kicked me into the ocean that was under the bridge, and him and Kakashi would have been fighting. Kakashi would have been trapped in a water prison. I'd have gotten out of the water. I'd have gotten back up, and I'd have been pissed off about Zabuza ruining my clothes. And I'd have shot a bullet at him, a gravity bullet, seeing that I'd have unlocked my stage 2, as my eyes would go yellow instead of red and black, and yeah, I'd have beat Zabuza's ass viciously, respectfully, and yeah. Then the Hunter Ninja would come out, throw 3 sin bones at Zabuza's neck. I'd have been confused, seeing, well, is it a boy or a fucking girl? And I'd have come to the conclusion that it was a boy, and, well, I'd have said that I can't let him escape with Zabuza, as I'd have said that Zabuza wasn't really dead, and that Hunter Ninja was a part of his little plan or whatever. But yeah, the Hunter Ninja would have smiled as it have said, "I am Haku, and yes, I am a boy. I am also Zabuza's partner in crime, as you say." I'd have said, "I fucking knew it," and I'd have rushed him. Deadass, I was letting the good hands commence, as I'd have hit the nigga dead in his jaw, sending him flying to the ground, shot a bullet at him, a gravity bullet, and he'd have been pulled straight to the ground. Seeing that I unlocked stage 2, it would have been stage 2 of gravity, and I basically could control gravity. But yeah, once I ended up beating the fuck out of Zabuza and his partner, Haku, I'd have asked them this only once. Would you guys like to come back with me to my village? And to force them to say yes, I'd have shot bloodlust at them, as they would have agreed. And this is when a small little midget would have shown up, known as Gato. I'd have taken out my sword, or my matter sword and my gravity sword. I'd have taken them both out. I'd have claimed both of these once I got to stage 2. I'd have rushed at the, army that the man had, killed them all, and then got Gato, stabbed him straight through his heart, cut his head off, and virtually made a clone to dissect his body. Once I was done with that, we left, heading back towards the Leaf Village. Once we got there, we reported to the Hokage, or the bastard of a father that I have. We'd have told him that we have 2 new ninjas, Zabuza the executioner and Haku his partner, as Haku would have been promoted to Chunin, saying that, he was virtually stronger than all of us, or except for me and Kakashi, and Zabuza would have been promoted to Jonin. And that's where I'm gonna leave it off, because I'm tired, sick, and dazed. But yeah, bye.